Let us start with Mondays.
Okay.
Racially charged remarks by Councilman Willie Bradford that you addressed later in the week, well, at Tuesday's session. We've all known Mr. Bradford for a while. I know you and Aaron have.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by not only the remarks themselves, but by the tone of those?
I was a little bit surprised, but more than surprised, I was saddened. I really was. And one of the things that I was saddened about, and I told Councilman Bradford this later, I asked him for a few private moments to share my concerns, because one of the things he had said was that he had been getting a lot of hateful calls and emails, and he felt that some of those calls and emails had been racially tinged, and I just believe our community is better than that. And I wanted to take his hand and tell him that even though the Downtown Development Authority and downtown businesses and others that I represent are not in favor of this project, that we would never stoop to that level, and I hope that he knew that we would not. And he expressed that he did, but I just wanted to make sure, because when somebody expresses concerns in such an emotional way, you want to address them. And so I felt like I needed to do that.
Did he at all express to you or explain to you his position, why he was so adamant, why he was so in favor of this version of the Cross Bayou development, when it came up during the Tyler administration, he was one of the ones who led the opposition?
That is a very good question, and I have not asked him to explain his position and why it differs from the first group, which was the Corporate Realty Group out of Birmingham, Alabama, and this group. I do know, and he has said this publicly on a number of occasions, that he and Larry English are good friends and have been good friends for years. I feel that, some of it has to do with the fact that he is supporting a friend, and he states publicly, and quite honestly, that's all that I know, is what he says publicly is that he just feels like it's due a conversation. And certainly, we have been having the conversation.
Liz, I've kind of thought you were the brains of the day Tuesday, and let me tell you why. Because nobody had really said what you said with regard to the legal bindingness of this.
No.
Repeat.
Binding. It's a binding MOU. Binding means something.
Tell us what your point you made Tuesday and why that was so critical.
All right. So one of the things that the proponents of this MOU have now been saying is that this new resolution only binds the city to discuss. But let me just state that the goals of the Gateway Development Group have not changed. The goals have not changed, just the method of reaching the goals have changed. And that's an important point to remember. When you look at the paperwork that was attached to the agenda for the City Council, and you look at the resolution, and the resolution is attached to a binding MOU, and in the resolution it states that the mayor will be talking to them to come up with a binding MOU that is substantially like the one that is attached to the resolution. So those are documents that everybody needs to take a look at. And in that MOU that is attached, there is a section that talks about legal redress. When the city enters into any kind of a contractual obligation, a binding resolution, an MOU, a CEA, there are opportunities for the other party to seek legal remedy if they feel that they have been wronged. If they go into this, and if for some reason the mayor says we can't go any further, we don't like it, things aren't as planned, whatever the case may be, this group does have the option, as everyone does, to sue. But I believe that it just enhances their ability to do that if the city enters into some sort of a resolution, an MOU, anything where a vote is taken and agreements are made.
Your biggest concern...
Larry has said...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please,
I'm sorry,
go
ahead. Well, Larry has talked, in many public forums that to this point they have spent about $5 million to get to this point, and maybe that number has gone up since then. So, let's do the math. If they end up saying the city did not negotiate in good faith, we're suing the city. We've spent $5 million. We're asking for that plus damages. Of course, all this is conjecture. It's just something that concerns me. It really does, on behalf of the city.
Would your opposition to this, and I know your answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does the color of the developer's skin matter a minute to you? You're against this no matter what. Correct?
Let me tell you that the color of the developer needs to be green. And let me explain that. I don't care what color they are, they got to be green, because there's so much money, that private dollars that have to be put into any project. When we are talking to developers, we talk to each developer equally. We try to share with them the opportunities, the buildings, the incentives such that they are. We've got historic tax credits, things of that nature. We try to handhold each and every one of them. We try to point them in the right direction, give them the best advice that we can. No, color does not matter. We do our utmost to treat every single person, no matter who or what they are, the same. But, green is the color that we have to be looking for, because rehabbing these buildings, building new structures, doing environmental remediation, all these things cost so much money, and you have to have access to capital.